to the 2016 Special Olympics Maryland Breakfast of Champions. My name is Josh Smith. I am Special Olympics Maryland athlete, ambassador, and advocate for people with intellectual disabilities. I will be your MC for today's event. I would like to tell you a little bit about myself. I am 34 and live in Allisburg, Maryland. Since 1990, I've trained and competed a number of sports including alpine skiing, cross-country skiing, equestrian, swimming, powerlifting, golf, and soccer. And also I was a gold medal winner in soccer at the 2014 USA Games in Princeton, New Jersey, where I was starting goalie for Team Maryland. When I am not training or competing, I work at Martin's Food Store in Allisburg. I love my job so much that I have been working for 14 years. I am an honorary trooper with Maryland State Police, and I am also a trained global manager. Many of you know about the Maryland State Police Polar Bear Plunge, which raises money for each Special Olympics Maryland. I am a super plunger, which means starting on Friday, January 27, I go in one 24 times in 24 hours. I have never joined us for the plunge. I will encourage you to join us on January 28th for what will be a memorable experience. If you could have started already, please go ahead with your breakfast. Want to review the timeline for this morning. You should have received a program at the tables. When you sat down, we will get started momentarily with the Breakfast with Champions conversation that will be moderated by Keith Mills. After the conversation with Keith and I will introduce the Special Olympics Maryland Athlete Draft to conclude today's program. I also want to take opportunity to recognize a few people who are joining us today. I want to thank to my fellow athletes who escort you to your tables. Who will receive a card from the athletes who escort you to the table today, which highlights who our athletes are. These guys are our cities in my books. As many of you may know, the Law Enforcement Torch Run for Special Olympics provides statewide support for our mission. My dad is a retired state police, Maryland State Trooper. He brought me here today. And thank you, Dad, and law enforcement officers for your support. Towson University is a year-round supporter. There are over 1,200 athletes, Special Olympics athletes, each June at summer games. More than a host, we consider Towson a vital part of Special Olympics Maryland family. I would like to recognize the entire Towson University community for ongoing support for our program. We have 6 table sponsors that I want to recognize: Aerotech, Glorfine, Sailor, and Garden, Marine Pure, Williams Head Group, and Vanderbilt. I also want to thank Brown University for being champions sponsors. Let's give these sports a round of applause. At this time, I would like to thank a year-round partner at the presenting sponsor for today's Breakfast with Champions, Talent Energy. Christine Xavier Denai from Talent Energy is here with us. If you would present Special Olympics Maryland with a check, I would also like to have Special Olympics Maryland President and CEO Jim Smuts to join us on the stage for a short presentation.
Good morning. It's a personal privilege to represent Talent Energy this morning at such a wonderful event for a remarkable organization. The values of the Special Olympics of Maryland: community, friendships, integrity, opportunity, quality, and sportsmanship are values that any company, organization, or individual sitting in this room can use as a guideline for success. Although these values may have a slightly different meaning for each of us, we can all apply them in what we do every day to make quality decisions and impact our communities in a constructive way. That's what the Special Olympics of Maryland has done for many years for thousands of Marylanders. We at Talent Energy value your contribution, your compassion, and the concrete impact that you've had in the lives of so many people that you serve. It's my honor to present this check on behalf of Talent Energy to the Special Olympics of Maryland. We thank you for all you do.
My name is Jim Schmutz. I am the CEO for Special Olympics Maryland. As those the Talent Energy folks come up, we also have a token of our appreciation. Thank you for supporting 7,311 athletes of Special Olympics Maryland by giving continuing opportunities to develop physical fitness, demonstrate courage, experience joy, and participate in the sharing of gifts in the community for our Special Olympics athletes. So thank you very much, Talent Energy. We're going to take a photo right here. Great, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Josh, we're back on, bud.
Thank you, Christine. Sorry. Thank you, Christine, and Talent Agency for supporting 7,311 Special Olympics Maryland athletes who train and compete year-round in 27 sports. I also want to thank the coaches, families, and volunteers who support us every day, so we can participate in this great program. This morning, we'll be going to conversation with a group of indispensable champions as the champions make their way to the stage. I'm honored to introduce for our MC for the champion conversation, Mr. Keith Mills, having a graduate from Brooklyn Park High School and Towson University. Keith is a homegrown product who has covered sports in Baltimore for almost 30 years.
Not yet.
As part of the Ravens broadcast team, Keith hosts Ravens broadcasting on WBAL, TV 11, and WBAL Plus. And he hosts radio shows on WBAL, 1090 AM, and 98 Rock. Keith is extremely active in Baltimore area, indoor sports, having coached baseball and basketball and soccer at youth level, as well as high school baseball at Brooklyn Park and Cardinal Gibbons. It gives me a great pleasure to introduce longtime friend, Special Olympics Maryland, Mr. Keith Mills, who will take over from here.
What's up, brother? How about Josh Smith, huh? Well, good. Put your hand up. There you go. That was the best introduction I ever had, buddy. Josh Smith, well done. Morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Thank you for coming out on a miserable day. But a great day because the Ravens won Sunday, right? Absolutely, absolutely. And I just want to, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, we could have a lacrosse game break out right now in the hallway, and we'd have one hell of a good game because Mike Federico, All-American at Johns Hopkins, went to Boys Latin. David Wingate here, All-American in North Carolina, went to Towson High School. This is a who's who of the Lacrosse Federation right now. Mike, welcome. David, good seeing you. John LaRue from Marine Advertising here. Spent a lot of time with John last week at the Ripken dedications for the baseball fields over at Cardinal Gibbons, where I had the great honor of coaching until the school closed, and at the new Eddie Murray Field over on the west side. Outstanding projects that are doing unbelievable things for the kids. It is an absolute pleasure to be here this morning on behalf of everyone at WBAL TV and radio and 98 Rock and everyone, of course, here at Special Olympics Maryland. What an honor to be here. One of the highlights of my professional and personal career were just a few years ago. I was on the board of directors of Special Olympics, and it was the most fulfilling time that I've ever had personally and professionally, not just to be involved with the summer games, the winter games, the beginning of the polar bear plunge, which has turned into this national phenomenon right now all over the country, but also to meet some unbelievable boys, girls, young men and women, and their parents and mentors and guardians who have done an absolutely amazing job of preparing these young men and women for to be productive citizens. And it is really a satisfying and rewarding thing to be a part of it, a small part of it right now. Again, we want to thank you guys for being here. Got a great show for you planned today. We call it the Champions Breakfast, and our headliners are champions, 2 Super Bowl champions. As you well know, our first guest, of course, grew up in South New Jersey. We won't hold that again. First of all, let me ask you a question. Any Steelers fans here? Be honest. We got one? All right. You know, if this wasn't such a great cause, we would ask you to stand outside in the rain for the next hour. But no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that because the Ravens, if I'm not mistaken, have beaten the Steelers 4 times in a row. Is that right? And now they beat the Bengals. And now they take aim at the Miami Dolphins. As a matter of fact, if the playoffs started today, I don't play this game a lot, but I figure I'd bring it up today. If the playoffs started today, the Ravens would play the Miami Dolphins, ironically, in the first round of the playoffs at M&T Bank Stadium. So how cool is that? Very cool. And they play the Dolphins, of course, Sunday, and that's a big game, no question about it. But our first guest, of course, Ravens' first-round draft pick back in 2008, Super Bowl MVP, one of the greatest quarterbacks right now in the NFL. Please welcome number 5, Joe Flacco. Yeah, just sit down, Joe. And no disrespect to Joe, the second most famous number 5 in Baltimore, right? I'm a Brooks Robinson guy, so I gotta lean a little bit towards Brooks. But to this generation of sports fan, no question, number 5 number is magic, and so is number 88. Old Colt fans will remember John Mackey wore that number. We remember him as one of the best tight ends right now in the NFL, certainly one of the greatest Ravens players ever. Maybe came close to getting maybe a couple of Super Bowl MVP votes back in 2013 at the New Orleans Superdome. Please welcome Dennis Pitta. Yeah, wait. I think you're on the end, Dennis. All the way down. And 2 very special guests who are already here, and you want to talk about unselfish. 3 years ago, this young lady drove from her home in Bel Air to Princeton, New Jersey on her own, checked into a hotel on her own so she could volunteer for a National Special Olympics event. How cool is that? She's from Harford County. She's been a Special Olympic athlete since 2011. She bowls, she plays soccer and softball. She is also trained in speech writing, public speaking, and other areas of athletic leadership. She works now at the Aberdeen Proving Ground up in Harford County and has served as the Master of Ceremonies at the Special Olympics Summer Games. And as John Maroon will probably tell you, she is a regular to Ripken Stadium to watch the Aberdeen Ironbirds. Please welcome Stacey Hall. Stacey, take a bow. Our next guest was born 13 years ago, arrived 15 weeks early, and weighed 1 pound and a couple of ounces. He needed a breathing tube just to live. His mom, Natasha, who is here today, did not hold her son for 45 days. Now he's a thriving young man, as you can see, goes to the Kingsbury Day School down in D.C. He competes for Special Olympics Montgomery County. He cycles, he plays basketball, and he plays tennis. And his partner on the unified tennis team is his sister, Alexis. How cool is that? He is a huge football fan, and his favorite team is the Miami Dolphins. Julian English, take a bow. We're going to work on that today, my friend. We're going to work on that, and the reason, again, we call this a champions breakfast is because we have 4 champions up here. Julie and Stacey are certainly champions, but we're going to hold a little Q&A right here with me and the guys up here right now. We're going to start with Joe and Dennis, and Joe, we'll start with you. You won a Super Bowl championship in 2012. What does it mean to be known and called a champion?
Well, listen, I don't think it's a big deal to be known as it and called it. It's really more, when you look at it, it's the group of guys that you went through it with, and it's just a product of all the hard work that we put in and all the time that we sacrificed. It's how our season ends. You know, it's the one team that gets to walk away at the end of the season without losing their last game. And, well, not the one team, but the one team in the playoffs, the one game that, you know, one of the games that actually matters. So it's just a product of a bunch of hard work that you've been putting in really since I can remember. You know, it didn't start when I became 20 years old or 23 years old. It probably started back when I was, you know, 5, 6, 7 years old and picked up a ball for the first time. And it's probably made into a bigger deal than it is. And winning is such an important thing in our league that we forget to, we tend to forget about all the other aspects of sports and how important they are. But it definitely feels good, and it's in that moment, it's great to be a part of that group of guys, that family, and we'll forever be able to get together and have that bond.
Yeah, Dennis, along the lines of what Joe's talking about, to me, one of the MOs of this franchise has been resilience and toughness and just togetherness and camaraderie, and it was never on display more than that championship run that led to New Orleans that year, I thought.
Yeah, it was a special year for us. Obviously Joe and I have the privilege to have been champions that year, and that's something that fortunately, we'll have throughout our lives. And I think when you look at the word champion, it means so much more than that. We were fortunate to be a part of that team and to sacrifice so much and to work really hard. But being a champion is so much more than that. It's putting your mind and effort and time 100% into something. And whatever that may be, for us it's football. For so many others it's so many other different things. And so I think we can all understand, we can be champions in whatever it is that we put our mind to. And there's a great display of so many special and tremendous people in this room that have put their minds to so many things and are champions as well.
Both of you guys, obviously, Joe, you mentioned a little bit about, hey, this started when you were 5, 6, 7 years old, and obviously, like the men and women, young boys and girls here who are being coached and mentored, both of you guys had coaches and mentors along the way. Who made a difference to you along the way? Who impacted your young career, maybe even moving right on through high school?
Well, I think, like I see a lot of the Special Olympics athletes, their parents are so heavily involved in what they do, and I think for me, my father was always right there. If I want to look past him, it was probably my first high school coach who, was really able to get some film out there and get me recruited a little bit. I didn't know anything about that. I just figured you went out and played football, and then you went to college and played football, and I didn't really know the steps it took to kind of get to that point. But yeah, I would have to say my father and then my first high school coach definitely played a big role in both of those things.
Yeah, Dennis, you grew up in Fresno, California, and then went to Brigham Young, but who was influential in your young career?
No, I didn't grow up in Fresno, California,
okay.
Keith. Come on. I grew up in L.A.
Okay. Okay.
Fresno's more considered the armpit of California.
Okay. Excuse me.
It's okay. I was born in Fresno.
Okay.
So it's an understandable mistake. No, like Joe said, for me it was my father. I grew up with a great support system at home. My parents were huge in my development, and obviously my father was my mentor in sports. He played middle linebacker, which did not suit my talents. I've always been an offensive guy, but he's always been there to support me and help me all the way through. And I've had great coaches along the way as well. And I just feel fortunate to have grown up and come from where I came from.
And we'll talk to the kids in just a minute, but one more question for Joe and Dennis, and it has to deal with adversity. And I don't know any athlete that gets to the level that they have reached that have not had to deal with adversity, like many of the young athletes out there today. And Joe, obviously, two things. One, transferring from Pitt to Delaware, I'm sure at that time wasn't easy. And two, obviously the knee injury last year, and not just overcoming it, but how you did with the help of your teammates and your strength coaches and the trainers at the Ravens.
Yeah, when I look back at it, I always thought my transfer was a big hurdle, and then you look at the knee. I think those are two obvious things, but to be honest with you, I think those things actually came pretty easy. I think we have to deal with adversity as players every single week in this league because everybody focuses, like I said, win, 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 and everybody thinks you go 16-0, and that's how you win it all. And listen, we've had a lot of ups and downs this year. We're 6-5, so we've almost lost as much as we've won. So to deal with that adversity week in and week out, and then still have to go out there and perform on Sunday, I think that's really a lot tougher than those other things because you can spend time at those and you're not getting critiqued along the way. You're just you're coming in, you're working out, and you're getting your knee better. But throughout Sunday, you really have to be, throughout the season, you really have to be mentally strong, and you have to have a good support staff with your teammates and coaches. You have to have people that you can lean on and get through it with, because it can be tough. There's a lot of things coming from the outside, and when it comes down to it on Sunday, all that matters is you guys and who's on the field and the people that are around you. And I think people think that you get through adversity by yourself and you just kind of plug along and you get stronger from it, but you get stronger from the people that are around you and are helping you through the process, the people that you can lean on and talk to when you're not having a good day. That's really how you get through all the stuff.
Yeah, Dennis, before we talk about the 2 hip injuries, you walked on at Brigham Young. What was that like when you came out of high school? And I know a couple of schools looked at you, Naval Academy, I believe was one, but talk to me about that time in your life and how you overcame that.
I don't think I was cut out for the Naval Academy. Yeah, I mean, listen, I was skinny, I was tall, lanky, wide receiver coming out of high school, and nobody really wanted me. They didn't, really see a future for me in college football, and I always felt like I could play, at that level, and so I walked on at BYU. I had to get in first, through my education, and then was able to try out for the team, and fortunately made it, and I am where I am today with a lot of hard work and a lot of support from the people around me. So yeah, it was difficult, and it was certainly not your typical journey to where I'm at now, but fortunate that I'm here.
The hips, plural. The hips.
Well, it's one hip, but twice.
It's one hip,
yeah.
But twice. Yeah. Thankfully, it's one hip. But man, and Joe talked a little bit about the mental anguish, and we all hear about that. And man, what was that like when you had to go through that whole process twice?
Yeah, it was okay doing it the first time. It was tough doing it the second time. Any kind of an injury, and Joe knows this. I think he got injured one time in his whole career, so he knows how this goes a little bit. It's tough, you're not on the field, you're not with your teammates, you're not part of that, that daily grind with them. You're on your own, you're with the trainers, you're, rehabbing every day, you're doing the same exercises over and over, and it's difficult mentally and it's difficult physically. It certainly takes a toll, and when you do the same injury twice, it's difficult. And for me, I was in an interesting position last year because I didn't know if I would be able to return and play football.
Yeah.
Doctors weren't sure that my hip would hold up, weren't sure, whether or not I would be able to run the way I wanted to and feel good enough to play and be able to take a hit. Fortunately, I was, blessed with the opportunity to play again and felt good enough to do so. And so, yeah, I mean, we all go through adversity, some more than others, and, that was just a small step in my journey.
Did you ask your quarterback for any advice or his opinion on whether you should play or not? Because I know you guys are really close friends.
No, he doesn't give good advice. I ask people who actually, can help me.
Joe, your turn.
I don't disagree with him. I would have told him to play.
No, he did. He told me every time I asked him, he was always like, "You need to play. Just suck it up."
We're only 31 years old, man. If he's not playing right now, he's back in the real world. That's a harsh reality.
And the real world is how many kids for you, Joe? Now, right?
It's 4 for me. I mean, it's 3 for him. So I mean, I was over his house on late Thanksgiving, and we had 14 kids over there. Between myself, him, his sister, and then Eric Weddle. So that's our lives right now if we're not on the football field. I'm kind of cool with being at the facility and practicing and doing all those things.
Hey, Dane, I'll be back in about 8 hours. Have fun. Hey, now, what you guys may not know is we all know Justin Tucker is one of the greatest kickers in the league, one of the greatest kickers of all time, actually.
Just ask Justin.
Yeah, well, that's my point, Dennis. Justin knows it, as we all saw after the 57-yarder and the double bow, yet these guys let Justin know that he's a kicker and not a player sometimes. And what was the reaction before we, the media, got into the locker room about the last, not just the last play, but Justin's four kicks? Joe, did you have to remind Justin that yes, Justin, remember now, we're the players, you're the kicker? Or am I asking?
I don't say much to him, man. I'm trying to avoid him. Like I said, you got to deal with him in small doses. And after that kind of game, you don't even want to be around him. You don't want to be anywhere near him, man. He was going. I saw him walking in and out of a couple interviews. That's exact. I saw him walking into your place.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was. I think he was complaining about having to do so many interviews, but inside he was really loving it. He was complaining just to like, that was his bit of humility, I guess, but.
Well, you said to him, "Hey, welcome to my world, Justin."
Yeah, you know, he's bouncing around for an hour after the game, and it's like, that's me every week. Good luck. And he's only doing it because he had a good game, not because he had a bad game, like I've had to do it. So, listen, he's an interesting person, and I mean, he'd be like that even if he wasn't the best in the world. He'd still believe he was the best in the world. So. Like I said, small doses with him. I know when to approach him and when not to.
Dennis, the last play, I talked to some guys after the game, and they're like, you mean we are allowed to hold and slam these guys down on the ground? Marshall Yonda picked this guy up, and it was like a WWE pile drive into the turf. Did you regret not being out there for that last play?
No, I was happy to be on the sideline for that one. Yeah, we ran that play before, Keith. You remember the Super Bowl?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we didn't quite get it done as efficiently as we did on Sunday, but yeah, I mean, listen, it's a smart play. You know, there's nothing in the rule book that prevents it. You know, you hold everybody and you run the clock out. So, you know, we've had some experience with that, and it was kind of a fun ending.
Yeah, you guys want to have some fun, go back and look at the replay of that, and you'll see at the end, Matt Elam with his guy, and just ripping this guy to the ground, and then running off the field.
Yeah,
it was classic.
Somebody had somebody in a chokehold at one point. I think
it was C.J. Mosley, right?
Yeah, I don't know who it was, but
yeah, he took his guy, body slammed him too. So great call. Okay, let's bring the guys in. All right, Stacy and Julian, and Julian, I have to ask you before I get into some specifics about your, you know, what you do. The Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins, Julian? Okay. You're still a Ravens fan, though, right?
Yeah.
No, put the mic up, buddy.
Yeah.
Still a Ravens fan. You love these two guys between you. Okay, that's all we need to do. Julian, how old are you?
I'm 12.
You're 12 years old. When did you start participating in Special Olympics?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. What sports do you play now?
Track, tennis, cycling, and basketball.
And what is the most fun part of Special Olympics for you?
Ooh, most fun. Not just one. Many.
Many.
Julie, hold the mic up to your mouth.
Many things.
I don't think it's most fun.
Yeah, it's working. Just put it up close to your mouth, buddy. What are they?
Being a leader for Congress, meeting new people, and seeing friends.
Very good, very good. Stacy, we understand again, as I mentioned, you work at the Aberdeen Proving Ground. How long have you done that?
I'm in my 28th year.
And how do you get to work, to and from
Driving.
work? Driving, that's fantastic. What's your work schedule?
6:30 to 4.
And we asked Joe and Dennis who influenced them in their lives. Who are the most important people in your life?
I guess I have to say my parents.
Your parents. And they were there when you competed in this year's soccer tournament, right? Again?
Actually, no, they wasn't.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, now, you didn't win this year's soccer tournament, right? But you won 4 times previous to that. How did you handle not winning?
My team, I'm on the upper level soccer team. We needed at least 3 partners and 2 athletes. One of the athletes did not want to play, just take the year off. One had cancer and could not come out. And one of the partners became coach. One had a baby, and one had a broken arm. He could not play because he broke his arm before the season. Our team had to recruit more people. They broke up the team 2 levels, upper and lower level, to make them even.
So it was really hard to win this year. So even just competing was a big deal.
Actually, we had the status was a shootout the first game. I only let like 4 goals go by out of the 3 games.
That's awesome. Good for you.
I'm the forward.
So the bottom line is you were proud of your teammates and how they played, right?
Yeah. It was just for the lower level to step up to a higher level was more running for them.
I got you.
And difficult playing different teams they never played before.
Joe and Dennis, it's like rookies for you guys. It's like the rookie class comes in every year. Two more things, Stace. How important is sports in your life right now?
If I had the TV at home, I would be watching sports 24/7. I like soccer. I watch college basketball sometimes. Blast ain't on TV.
You like the Blast soccer team? Yeah, fantastic. Outstanding.
Yeah, I go to one Ravens game, which lied this year. I've been to a preseason game. Last week's game, I'm going to the Miami Dolphins game this week.
Oh, sweet, because you're good luck, because they're 2-0. They won every preseason game, and they beat Cincinnati.
Right.
Get out there more.
Right. I can afford it.
Hey, we'll take care of that, I guarantee you. These guys can afford it, let me tell you. Hey, Joe, help her out a little bit there. Come on. All right, guys, Julian and Stace will be back with you. Oh, one more question for you. You volunteered at the Cal Ripken World Series for all these years. How come? Why did you do that?
I also volunteer at the Harford County Farm Fair under the Kids Weigh 10. I'm a people person. I like kids. World Series were international teams coming in. You got to meet people from all over the U.S. and the local team. This past year we had 2 local teams in it. One became county champions. We had county champions, and Hickory played for the local team up at the World Series. Both of them happened to be, one lived on one side of me, the other side of me, one also as Bel Air Braves won, I guess, the county championship for that age group.
Fantastic. So you had an interest in both and all that stuff.
Yes.
Great job, great job. All right, back to Joe and Dennis. And guys, you don't have to be here. You know, it's early in the morning. You guys have practice. Or you're involved. You're knee deep into the season. Both of you do an incredible amount in the community and have since you've been here. Joe, how come? Why do you get involved with this?
Oh, listen, I mean, it's cool to be a part of this because you get to be around such great people, and you get to meet a lot of awesome athletes and their parents. And when you're around it more, you realize how much Special Olympics really does. I mean, obviously, it's about going out there and competing and having fun and doing all those things. But all of these athletes, I mean, like you can see, I mean, she's going to work from 6:30 to 4 o'clock every day. She's driving herself there. All these people, they all do the similar things. It's such a good just foundation for, you know, being awesome people and going out there and you know, being a part of what we do, going to work, and everybody, you know, does their part, and they really learn awesome skills and go out there, and it's just awesome, and the approach they take, how much enthusiasm they have. I mean, when these athletes come up to us and say hi, I mean, I have 20 player cards from all of them back in the back room right there, and just the way they approach us, and it's very refreshing for, I think, me and Dennis as to have people come up to us and just very genuinely say hello and be, you know, very happy, and that's all they want to do. They just want to say hi and be themselves and get to hang out with us for a couple minutes. So it's just a really great program, and it's awesome to be here and just be a part of it. I think that's why at the end of the day I like doing it, is because you get to meet great people.
Dennis, Dennis also hosts a Halloween costume party at Arundel Mills a few days before Halloween every year, in addition to this. And again, I know this is a big part of your family as well. Dennis, how come?
Yeah, I think Joe, you know, explained it well. You know, this is neat for us to be able to come out and you know, meet special people like Julian, like Stacy. It's humbling for us, and you know, Joe said he got 20 cards. I got 21 cards back there. You know, I mean, it's not a competition, but You know,
no competition between these guys at all, is it?
Yeah, it's fun, and you know, you meet so many special people who are doing so many tremendous things with their lives. You know, we're all dealt certain cards at birth, and we all have weaknesses and we all have strengths, and you know, to be able to meet so many inspirational people, they're inspirational for us, and you know, I just love being a part of it, and you know, for Joe and I, we have a platform where we're able to give back, and I think it's important for us to recognize that and to do our part.
It's rare this day and age when a player can play their whole career with one franchise. And Dennis came into the league 7 years ago, Joe obviously 8, 9 years ago, and hopefully they will end their careers with one team, the Ravens. And how special is that, guys? This day and age, you don't see that too often. You're both outstanding careers with one franchise. I happen to think the Ravens are as good a professional franchise as any organization in professional sports right now. You see a little different side of it sometimes, Joe, but what has it meant to you to be here from your career from day one?
Well, it's huge to be able to put roots down and become part of the community and see a lot of the similar faces around, and like I said, just become part of the community. Go out and be you know, your normal person, and go get meals and go stop at the corner store and do all those things. And I think the longer you're at some place, the more comfortable you are doing those things, and the more you feel a part of it. And, you know, as you said, I'm from New Jersey. I'm only an hour and 40 minutes north of here. You know, it's really very similar to where I'm from, and in terms of the people that I interact with every day. So it's an awesome place for me. You know, this is only my 9th year. I mean, it's a long career, but for a quarterback, I mean, I still hope I play 9, 10 more years. So I haven't played my whole career here yet, but it would be a great place to do it.
Yeah, Dennis, you, Terrell Suggs, Marshall Yonda, Joe, and every year it seems like the list of guys that started when you guys did are dwindling. But again, that core of guys that you have in that locker room that have been around, man, that's a special group.
Yeah, it's a special group, and like you said, there's so much turnover, you know, in the NFL, and so many guys come and go. You know, I think Joe and I feel fortunate to have been here for as long as we have, and like you mentioned, Keith, the Ravens organization is second to none in the NFL, and you know, they take care of us as players, and they're obviously tremendous in the community here in Baltimore, and you know, it's fortunate that, you know, we get to be here and be a part of this community. When you bounce around a lot from team to team, you don't really get that sense of community, and you're not able to really put a footprint on the community that you're in as much. And so it's special for us to be able to play in front of the same fans and the same passionate fans each and every week.
How do you guys handle expectations? Because over the course of time, and when Mike and Dave played and we all played in high school, man, there wasn't Twitter, there wasn't Facebook, there wasn't all this stuff out there. There was your coaches and your parents and maybe a couple friends telling you this and that. But now, man, it's us, the media, it's everybody. How come you can't do this, and how come you can't do that, and why aren't you playing at the level you did during the Super Bowl, yada, yada, yada. How do you, Joe and Dennis, as athletes, deal with that? Young athletes have a hard time, I know, in high school, but...
You're going to let me go first?
Yeah, yes.
It's interesting. I mean, it's a very different world with social media and Twitter and everything. I mean, I think fantasy football is also a part of it. People hate me because of my fantasy football output, you know? It's like, it creates a different dynamic, and, you know, but it's part of, you know, what we do. You know, everything that we do on the football field is filmed. Every step we take, every hand placement we make is critiqued and judged, not only by ourselves and our coaches, but by really everybody.
Practice too, right?
Yeah, practice. So you know, it's a level of criticism that we're used to, and I think you have to, you know, have thick skin and not let things bother you. And so, you know, all that's heightened certainly with today's media. You have to kind of be able to ignore the noise a little bit to be in this job and not pay attention to what people are saying about you, because, you know, as many people that love you, there's that many people that hate you and think that you're worthless. And so it's just kind of, it's interesting, and I know for Joe it's a lot more, you know, scrutiny than I certainly get being a quarterback. So I'm sure he has some interesting things to say about it.
I'm not going to ask about the mechanics question. I won't ask about that today. Particularly the quarterback, but is that why you guys keep it light in the locker room?
Well, hey, and we're all in it together in the locker room, so that's an easy, that's an easy place to, just go be yourself and forget about all that outside stuff for a little bit. But we sit at the table at lunch and, vent to each other, to put it in a nice way, and do different things. I mean, we're human, everybody, if you hear stuff, you feel a certain way about it, and then, you have to get over it. And like I said, in this league, it's week to week. So, 1 week you're getting crushed, the next week you're not, the next week you're getting crushed, the next week you're not. And I mean, is that reality? No, it's not. It's just it's not how it actually is. At the end, at the end of the day, there's a bunch of teams that are going through the same things we are and dealing with the same things that we are. So it's just about keeping the end goal in sight and knowing that our hard work's going to pay off. We're doing everything the right way. I think that's all you can do is go to work and just continue to get better and better and better and better, and know that you're doing the right things, know that you're working your tail off, and all the other things will eventually fall in place.
We just have a couple more minutes, but one thing else, one other thing I want to talk about. What's it like, the Super Bowl run you guys made? I think back of 2014 when you made that great run into the almost, came within a couple of plays of getting back to the AFC Championship. What is that like when it clicks, man? When things are clicking, when you were unstoppable during the Super Bowl run and a couple of years ago, and trying to get to that degree and that level of execution. But what's it like when you get there? How satisfying is that?
Well, hey, I mean, it's not satisfying till the very end when you win it all, because there's always another hurdle, and as much as things may seem to be clicking, it's still a ton of stuff, a ton of different elements that go into that. So listen, until that clock hits zero every week, that's when it becomes fun. When it's a lot of work till then, and you grow up and you go on the scoreboard and you have fun. You do, and you go home and you tell your parents. And I would go home and tell my dad, man, I made this catch today, or I made this throw today, and that was fun. And you won or you lost, and you played 10 games, and that's what it was. And yeah, you got pissed when you lost, but you just went on to the next one and you'd switch teams up. And in this league, it is our profession, and it's a lot of fun when you win at the end. So when it was all clicking the end of that year, it was a lot of fun when the clock hit zero in the San Francisco game. If they would have scored on one of those 4 downs inside the 5-yard line, I don't think it would have been a ton of fun. I don't think we would remember that 4-game stretch in the same way that we remember it right now. But you remember the times that you spent with your teammates, on the road and in the locker room, eating lunch, and we were probably doing a lot of the same things we are right now. We were venting to each other about things we're not happy with, and we were talking to each other, we're making fun of guys, doing all kinds of different things. So that's what it is. When everything's clicking, I guess at some level your mind's a little bit more free, and you can let it loose a little bit more.
I gotta bring up something we were talking about last night on the air in light of the last play the other day. Was the last play in the Super Bowl actually wasn't the safety, it was the kickoff. And Dennis, I think Joe was standing next to you and a couple other guys when he said, listen, if that guy runs by, remember NFL films, if that guy runs by, tackle him. Jump off the sideline and tackle him, which to me was one of the greatest spontaneous things I've ever seen in sports. And you were serious, weren't you?
He was serious.
He was serious. I
think I was, man. Hey, if he's going to score, he's going to score. I mean, at least if you jump off the sideline and tackle him, they have to award him a score or something. I don't know. I've never seen that. So, hey, I was still nervous. We had to get him down. It was the Super Bowl. It was the biggest game. I mean, in our job, it was the biggest game you can play in, and we were seconds away from winning it. I was going through had so many emotions at that time. Most of them very, very good. I was probably on some kind of high, man, that I've never experienced before. And yeah, I may have. I mean, I may have jumped down and tackled him. I have no idea.
Yeah, well, I would have let him tackle him. I wouldn't have been the one to do it.
That actually happened once. A kid from Morgan State years ago in college ran off the sideline and tackled a guy when he was running down for a touchdown. They gave him the touchdown, by the way.
We'll put it in the ref's hands then. Yeah.
Yes. Here's how crazy our business is and the fans. Right after that game, we did our post-game show on WBAL from the field. You guys are still in the field. Confetti's coming down. The first caller we had was this guy said, man, I'm really bummed out. I'm like, what do you mean you're bummed out? I just won the Super Bowl. I'm not sure we can do it again next year. And literally, confetti is still on the ground, and that's what you guys have to deal with. But getting back to that point, Dennis, about when it clicks, man, is there anything better than that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you look back at that season, I mean, it didn't, you look at that playoff run, it wasn't always clicking. And you know, you look at the Denver game, you know, it took a last second, you know, heave by Joe and a touchdown by Jacoby just to get it to overtime, and then we finally won. I mean, even when it's clicking, it's still really difficult, you know, and then you get to the Super Bowl and, you know, we were rolling and it was clicking, and then the lights went out. And then it wasn't clicking. And, you know, it took a last second, you know, safety and you know, kickoff to, you know, to win that one. But, you know, it's just such an interesting business. You know, there's so many highs and lows and ebbs and flows, and you just have to, you know, be able to manage, you know, the adversity and the success. And I think that's something that, you know, as a football player you learn.
So Julian and Stacy. Julian, have you changed your mind as to who your favorite team is right now, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, and who is that? Put your mic up. There you go. We converted Julian. How about that? I have a lot of respect for you, young man. Stacy, who are your two favorite players right now in sports?
Dennis Poole and Joe Slacker.
Oh, man. Paul, we're going to Polar Bear Plunge. Hopefully you'll still be in the playoffs. So I'm not even going to ask you. That question's not even going to ask you. You'll be in the playoffs, so don't worry about it. But speaking of...
I don't know if Dennis has ever done it. So
What's that?
I think the challenge is... You've heard of the mannequin challenge. This is the Flacco challenge right here, right now. All right, Dennis. You'll be in the playoffs. You don't have to worry.
I take a Polar Bear plunge every day after practice. I get in the cold tub, so...
Yeah, talk about what's the cold tub like?
It's cold. Yeah. It's I usually go hot tub, then cold tub for, you know, as much as I can stand, then back in the hot tub. So
it's just a big social event at the end of the day. Yeah, that's all it is.
Who knows if it actually works?
It's not doing anything for him. I don't take part in that.
Unfortunately, you guys didn't get a chance to play with John Ogden. He retired a year before those guys got here, a couple of years before Dennis. But John does a pregame show with me, and I asked him about that. I said, JR, I said, what was your ratio of hot tub and cold tub? He goes, cold tub? He goes, man, I got in the cold tub when I saw somebody in there I wanted to talk to for like 30 seconds, and that was it. So not everybody gets in the cold tub. But one last thing. Stretch run, just to let the fans know that you guys are probably healthier than you've been pretty much all year in regards to getting guys on the field. I know Jimmy Smith wants to try to get back this weekend, but looks like you're gearing up for the stretch run, and there's nothing, Joe, like December football in Baltimore, huh, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, it always comes down to it. I've been in the playoffs 6 times out of 8 seasons that have been completed, and it always comes down to at least 4 of those. I think we've had to win the last game to get in. You know, so as tough as things look sometimes, even when we thought things were great, back in the moment they weren't, and you had to win the last game. So we have a tough 6-game stretch ahead of us, but that's every week in the NFL. And you know, right now we've won all of our division games. We still have Pittsburgh ahead of us, which is going to be a big-time game on Christmas. It'll be a lot of fun for all you guys sitting at home and opening presents and eating a nice meal. And we'll be in Pittsburgh.
Of all places.
But I tell you what, it's going to be a lot of fun around 8 o'clock when we're on the bus getting ready to go back to the airport after we beat them. So, you know, it's a tough 6-game stretch that we're really ready to go after and attack, and it's going to, you know, it'll start this week.
I know one team doesn't want to play them is New England, because Bill Belichick knows when you guys, of course you got a game to play before that, but no one plays the Ravens tougher in Foxborough, or no one plays New England tougher in Foxborough than the Ravens. But man, Dennis, you got some tight end help the other day too, with Nick Boyle back and maybe Crockett this week to give you some more help. But things are starting. It looks like you guys are starting to really do some things offensively now to make a stretch run yourself, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously this is a game of attrition, and the healthier you can be later in the year is a bonus for you. And so, we're getting some guys back. We're obviously on the defensive side, getting Elvis back last week was a big addition, and getting healthy at the right time I think is going to be important for us down the stretch. And like you said, it's good to have meaningful games in December. When you know you're not making the playoffs and these games don't mean anything, it's a tough way to go out. But these games are going to mean a lot, and we've got a division title to get, and so it'll be a fun month.
Last question to Joe, and I saved this for last because the coach talked about it yesterday, John Harbaugh, and Joe came in through our post-game show the other day with a rip in his pants. And prior to the knee brace, I thought he was the best slider. And seriously, because of his baseball. Joe was a great baseball player in high school, and he slid a pop-up slide as well as any quarterback I've ever seen. John called you out on that yesterday, buddy. He said, man, he's got to change his slide a little bit right there. What are you going to do?
I'm not going to do anything. It's going to be tough. It's going to be an issue that I'm going to have to deal with. I'm going to have to figure something out. I did it 3 weeks ago or whatever it was, and messed my brace up, and then against Cleveland, I slid one time, and it was in my head. I said, all right, get your knee up. And then this week, it was another situation where I was running, and I was like, okay, I got to get down. So it just, went back to how I would normally do it. I just got down as quick as I could and wanted to protect myself, and that's what happens. So I'm sure there's going to be more attempts this year where I'm going to just all of a sudden say get down, and I'm going to have to deal with it. I'm going to have to learn how to either tuck my right leg and get on my right side. I don't want to start going head first because bad things can happen, but we'll see. I just hope I don't mess my knee up or break another brace or do something crazy. So it's going to be an issue that I'll have to deal with, and maybe after the season I can address it and try to find some way to avoid it.
Dennis, I hope I'm not talking out of school, but after he broke the brace a couple of weeks ago, he was showing it to all the offensive linemen.
Yeah, he's giving me all kinds of, he thinks I take all kinds of pride in my slide, and it's a real hit to my ego right now. So, he's getting a good kick out of it.
Nobody was more proud of their slide in the NFL than Joe Flacco was his first 8 years in the league. So this actually makes me really happy to see the struggles with a knee brace, because he's never had a brace, so his traditional slide, doesn't work. And we're having a lot of fun with it. So we're gonna get him some sliding lessons. Don't worry, guys.
As you guys may know, Tom Matte was supposed to be here today, and I had a conversation with Tom. This is how we're going to say it. I had a conversation with Tom on Sunday at the Ravens game. Tom, as you know, played with Johnny Unitas, one of his best friends, good friends with Jack Nicklaus, and we were talking about Joe, and he goes, Johnny would have been proud of Joe. And Scott Garceau and I were sitting there with him, and he goes, I said, how come? He goes, because Joe doesn't sit there and pound his chest and say, look at me, and say, look at my stats, and look at my playoff results, and yada, yada. All he does is go out and win. And when you're talking about leadership, that's what leadership is all about. It's not getting in your face, rah, rah, look at me. It's going out, playing hurt, playing tough, and winning football games. And both of these guys have done that, and we appreciate you guys coming in. Thank you so much. We'll see you at the Polar Bear Plunge in late January. It's going to be another tremendous event. Joe is obviously a big part of that, and I think Dennis might be a little bit this year in leading up to that, in promoting it. And Stacy and Julian, how about a round of applause for Julian English and Stacy Hall? Julian, Ravens and Dolphins Sunday, right, buddy? You're going to have your number 5 jersey, number 5 on the front, and number 88 on the back, right? We'll get you a custom-made jersey. All right. Guys, thanks for coming. Have a safe trip home. Joe, Dennis, thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Oh, Jim, I'm sorry. Jim's going to take us out. Sorry, brother.
No problem. All right, so we do have a little bit left in the program. So we want to get you on your way. We know it's been, it's the weather out there. But, Josh, come on back up.
I got to do the draft. I'll do that.
You got it?
Do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's right, you ready?
Jump the gun, yeah.
All right, but before we turn it back over to you, Julian, come on up here for a second. So you heard a little bit more from Stacy. Bring your microphone. Get your microphone. So Julian, do me a favor, put that photo back up of Julian. So think about normal pregnancy, right? Julian was born at 24 weeks. today is Giving Tuesday. I had the opportunity to meet Julian. I started in this position back in January 2013 at a track meet in the spring of 2013 down in Montgomery County. I met Julian and his entourage. His family is an unbelievable supporter of him. But if you think about Julian being born at 1 pound 15 ounces at 24 weeks, he's not supposed to be here by all statistical medical standards. And today we celebrate Giving Tuesday, and there's no better gift to this world than Julian English. Julian, so you were born 12 years ago. You recently, put the microphone up to your mouth for me.
Yeah.
You recently went back to the hospital where you were born, right?
Yeah.
And you went to the neonatal intensive care unit where you stayed? What was that like for you?
It was amazing.
Say it again.
Oh, okay. It was amazing to see where I was born, how little I was. I saw the machine that helped me breathe for
More than
90 days. Yeah. Can we do some?
Yeah. Go ahead.
My family is important. Dad, mom, sister, cousins, aunts, grandma, everybody.
Yeah, that's his entourage. So, let's see. Let's do this one, all right?
Yeah.
So Julian, we talked about leadership. Julian has been an athlete leader for us, an ambassador. Because athletes, individuals with intellectual disabilities have historically been marginalized really at every turn in their life, we engage the athletes to be advocates. We go to Annapolis and talk to the legislature down there and the legislators. And we also go to Capitol Hill, and Julian had an opportunity to go to Capitol Hill a few years ago, actually for the last 2 years, but he also had an opportunity to go visit the White House. The celebration of the American Disabilities Act 25th anniversary took place 2 years ago, and Julian went down there. And so who did you meet down there, Julian?
I met the president, the vice president, and the vice president liked my bow tie.
Yeah, so the bow tie is a signature for Julian. And so let's look at this one. Why don't you just read that for us? So wait a second, let me just introduce. So on your table, there should be a book. There's one book on each table, all right? And this is a book that Natasha and Julian wrote together. And so, Julian, let's just share this little, yeah, read the whole thing. Okay, it's okay, and then we'll move on, okay?
Okay, it is my journey through the ABCs since I learned differently, like people. We thought it would be cool to share my book with you.
And how you learn.
And how I learn.
All right, so one of the things, I'd invite you up to come after the session here, after the presentation. Julian learns differently. So the way we learn to read, Julian is not wired in the same way. So what he has up here is his own storyboard from which he's been reading and answering the questions. And it's a very unique way in which he prepares to communicate. So if you have a chance, we'll leave these up here. But it's a series of pictograms and words that helps him be able to effectively communicate. So what's really interesting is there's 500 different known causes of intellectual disability. So there's not a look. It's not, there's, Special Olympics is for people with intellectual disabilities. There are individuals with Down syndrome who have physical features that are easily recognizable, but individuals with Down syndrome make up less than 2% of the population of people with intellectual disabilities. So it's not easily recognizable, and if you look at Julian, if you watch Julian compete, he is a burner on the track. He's excelled in tennis to the point now where he's playing singles. So but when you start to talk to the individual and you understand some of the challenges with which they're faced, you begin to understand the challenges with which they're faced on a daily basis that are obstacles that they overcome. And sport provides an opportunity for us to engage athletes where they can excel, they can develop the same. What you heard from Joe and Dennis today, the things that they experienced as kids growing up, and even today, life's lessons are taught through sport. And our athletes, Julian and Stacy and Josh Smith, and all the athletes in this room are the benefactors of having Special Olympics and the support from folks like you. While I'm thinking about it, so I don't forget, at the table, there's one chair that has a piece of red duct tape on the underside. So when we're finished here, check the underside of your chair, and the person who has that red tape can take that book home with them. And if somebody wants to purchase the book, Natasha and Julian will be out in the lobby area with books for sale on the way out. But it's a great story and a testament. We talked about the support systems that make it possible for our athletes to participate. Could I have all the parents and coaches that are in the audience here today stand up of our Special Olympics athletes? Yeah. And I think that applause says it all. So we'll go ahead and move on. I'm going to turn it back over to Keith to take us out on this, on what we have, this draft concept. And I'm going to let him and Josh talk a little bit about it, and then we'll get you on your way.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll be careful, bud.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, guys, everybody's got one of these on your table. And it's, the NFL draft is such a big deal right now. So we decided here at Special Olympics to have our own draft. And Joe was a first-round draft pick in 2008. Dennis, fourth-round pick out of BYU 2 years later. And, this is a big part of what we're doing today. It's our own unique spin on the draft. Josh, come on back up here with me right now. Like the Olympic Games, again, the Special Olympic athletes gather 170 nations at the World Games, alternating between summer and winter games every 2 years. And what we want you to do, we also want to invite Patrick Speaker, Megan Cooper, and Brian Very up here right now. So Patrick, Megan, and Brian, come on up. And these three athletes, as they walk up, will represent Maryland as members of the Special Olympics USA team that will travel to Austria and compete at the 2017 Special Olympic World Winter Games. Patrick will compete in snowshoeing. Brian headed to Austria as an alpine skier, and Megan in cross country. And there's Megan right here. You can find the details about these athletes in the printed program. Now, Josh, I'm going to turn this over to you right now, buddy, and you take us from there. Okay. One thing I want to ask you right now is we left out your introduction earlier. But you came back with 2 gold medals from the Olympics, gold and bronze. Those games were in Japan. How cool was that? What did it mean to you to win them?
It's all about heart. And all these people come up to me and said, wow, it's heart and soul and passion. And I just talked to Keith earlier and said, you know what, you got it. You got the chance to win. Like people who go to Australia, good luck. Do your best. This is your shine. This is our 2017 World Games champions in my books.
There you go. Whew. Well done. All right, now Patrick, Megan, and Brian will head to Clinton, Vermont on December 12th for a 3-day training camp and final preparation of the World Games. So Patrick, Megan, and Brian, are you guys excited about representing both Maryland and the United States? Yeah. Yes? I'm nervous. You're nervous?
Hey, whoa, don't be nervous. Be yourself.
Josh says don't be nervous, man. Be yourself. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Leaving December 11th.
Right, December 11th. Oh, you're leaving December 11th, but you're going to start training on the 12th, right? You're nervous? Look at those guys, man. They always get nervous. That's no big deal. That's no problem. Now, with that said, again, I want to draw your attention to the cards you have on your table, and we're going to have our own draft. They're draft cards that you received. The cost to attend these games, obviously, is pretty staggering. The cost to attend the games for each athlete is $6,000. We're hoping that this expense, that expense includes training camp, that I mentioned, uniforms, equipment, travel, lodging, meals, all the other related expenses. And you can draft one of these athletes. If we get 36 people here today to make the commitment, and we'll cover the entire cost to send them to the games. Additionally, there are other ways to support the athletes across the state through the draft as well. For an investment of $203, you will draft an athlete for 1 year. For $100, you'll be responsible for providing medals for a full team of athletes. And for $60, you can cover housing an athlete at the summer games. And $25 will contribute to providing a uniform for one athlete during the season. So you have that criteria right now. As you consider all of these options, I would like to invite Special Olympics Maryland President and CEO Jim Smuts to come back up here once again. But one thing I wanted to say is to the athletes, hey guys, what Josh said was kind of right. Go up there, man, and let's let it rip. Don't worry about winning and losing, just compete. Have fun, do the best you can. I remember when Joe and Dennis played in the Super Bowl. That whole week, they just talked about going up there and let it rip, baby. And whatever happens, happens. But you can look in the mirror and say you gave it your best shot. Right, Josh?
Right.
Right? How about that? Right, Stace? All right. Last thing for me personally before Jimmy comes back. This is my 37th year in local sports broadcasting, and I have been around a lot of tremendous athletes. Johnny Yu, Cal Ripken. These two guys right here are two of my favorites. Not just because they won and they brought a lot of adulation to the city and they made us all feel good. It's the quality of people that are here representing you and the Ravens all over the league. Guys, thank you. Jim?
Thanks, brother. Thanks, Keith. Again, I want to thank everybody for coming and joining us today for the Breakfast with Champions. You've got a little bit of taste for what it means to be a Special Olympics athlete and the impact that Special Olympics has not only on the lives of our athletes. We talk about how Special Olympics can transform the lives of our athletes, but in turn, if you have the opportunity to interact with our athletes, your lives are transformed. And that's the power of our athletes. One thing I'd bring your attention to, we serve 7,311 athletes currently. And when I say that number, people say, wow, that's a lot of athletes. Well, there's 115,000 people with an intellectual disability in the state of Maryland. So we're less than 7%. As you can see, we've got young athletes. Julian's 12. We've got younger adult athletes. We also have what we would call senior athletes. Our oldest athlete is 90 years old, and a young lady out in Frederick who participates in bocce in our individual golf skills. So we have 27 different sports. We're a year-round program. There's opportunities to volunteer. Keith talked about the draft. You can certainly give. These athletes participate at no cost. When Mrs. Shriver started the organization back in 1968, she did not want there to be any limitations, and specifically she didn't want the financial obligation to be an impediment to participation. So that $203 number is one that is an average cost per athlete per season, and that covers all the costs. So if you're feeling generous today on Giving Tuesday, please take those pledge cards and make a pledge. If you have an interest in volunteering, you can go to our website, somd.org, and sign up there. If you do make a pledge to give us a contribution today, you can give those cards. Our athletes will be here at the exit to take those cards from you, so we appreciate that. We would also encourage you on your way out to grab an athlete. We've got these kind of selfie frames. We've also got some other signs here in the auditorium that you can use to take pictures and send them out on social media. When you go back to work, share today's story, share Julian's story, share Stacy's story with your colleagues. We need to generate more awareness and understanding of what Special Olympics is. We have created our big, hairy, audacious goal. So by 2025, our objective is to have 20,000 athletes actively participating in Special Olympics, in one of the 27 or more Special Olympic sports that we offer. And it's events like today, the awareness that we build, the relationships that we make, that will carry us towards that effort. So I want to thank you on behalf of our athletes for coming. And I really can't thank you enough, particularly getting up early. Our objective was to get you out of here by 8:45. We're close, so that you can get to work and have a great Giving Tuesday. But again, on behalf of our athletes, I also want to thank Dennis and Joe for coming out. Really appreciate your support of us year-round. Joe, as Keith alluded to, has been a supporter. We do a fundraising event in the spring, a casino night that Joe has been really a signature supporter of. And Keith, I want to thank you for coming out again today, and we'll look forward to getting you more involved on a regular basis as well. So on behalf of our athletes, go have a great Giving Tuesday. If for our sponsors that are here, we failed to share with you when you registered. We have a photo opportunity in the room next door. So if the sponsors will remain seated at their tables, we'll escort you, and we're going to get a photo opportunity with some of our athletes and with Joe and Dennis, and then we'll send you on your way. So thank you very much. Again, the books, red duct tape underneath your chair. So if you have that, please take Julian's book, and go have a great day. Thanks very much.